Wouldn't it be great if there were a tool of some kind to help people form that habit? Some of the quotes are 5 words, so it doesn't take any time. Some people say, I know I'm not supposed to read it all the way through, but I can't put it down. If you find something that motivates you, you should look for it and just go after it.
Welcome to the Wheel With It podcast with your host, Devon. Let's get into the episode.
Hello, my name is Devon Wieters. Welcome to another episode of Wheel With It. Today on the show, we have Dennis J. Henson. He is really inspiring to listen to and to talk to. This was one of my favorites. I think you're really going to love and be inspired by this conversation. So please enjoy my conversation with Dennis J. Henson. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Real With It. Today we have Dennis J. Henson with us. How are you today, Dennis?
Wonderful, Devon. I'm sorry, it's Devon, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, tell us about yourself and then we'll get started.
Well, Devon, for many years, I invested in real estate. And when I moved to Texas, there wasn't a real estate investor group where I lived. I had to drive for an hour to get to Dallas or to get to Fort Worth to go to a real estate investing group. So I decided to start one in Arlington. So I started the AREA, Arlington Real Estate Investors Association, and did that for quite a while. I taught classroom classes sometimes. One day, one of the members came up to me and said, Dennis, I want you to teach me what you do. I want you to teach me privately. And I said, no, Mike, I don't have time to do that. I'm a real estate investor and I do these meetings on my time. So a member came up to me and wanted me to teach him privately. And I said, I didn't want to do that. And he said, well, let's meet for lunch and we'll talk about it. So I told my wife, I'm not going to do this. I met with him, and after lunch, he said, let's talk business. And I was ready to tell him no. He pulled out his checkbook and handed it to me and said, here, fill this in. And I said, do you mean the amount? And I said, yes. So I thought, well, this is a good way to end this. I'll put a number here that's too big, and he won't continue to bother me about teaching him. So I wrote down a number that no one would pay. I knew no one would pay it. So I gave it to him. He tore the check out of the checkbook, signed it, didn't even look at the number, and gave it back to me.
Oh my gosh.
So I said, okay, I guess I'll teach. So that's what I started teaching. Well, then I decided, well, if I'm going to charge this kind of money, I better have a really good course. I mean, it better really be good. So
yeah, better give him his money's worth.
So I put together a course that I thought would work. And over the next 15 years, I had over 400 students, and they were just amazing. I mean, they just went out. Some of those students are some of the best business people in Texas. I mean, they really have done well. Because of that, I got invited to speak all over the country and in other nations. I got on podcasts. People were so excited about my students. And one day, one of the podcasters said, Dennis, why are your students so extremely successful? And I said, well, I have them change their habits. If they can form success habits, they'll become successful. And then they asked, Dennis, what is the most important success habit? Can you share that with my audience? And I said, sure. Have them form the habit of reading something positive every single day that moves them toward their goal. In this case, the goal was becoming a real estate investor. So after that was over, I thought, oh, that was really a good answer. Wouldn't it be great if there were a tool of some kind to help people form that habit? The habit of reading every day. And then it hit me. I've been saving quotes and success stories and poems for almost 50 years. I can put the best ones in a book, and then people can form the habit regardless of how busy they are. So if they only have a second, they can read a quote. If they have 5 minutes, they can read a poem. If they have 30 minutes, they can read a short story. And then in the back of the book, I put a list of books that I have that really motivated me. So If you want to read for 3 hours, you read one of those books. What this became is more than a book. It's a system. It's a system to help people improve the quality of their lives, which is my goal, improving the quality of people's lives. It used to be through real estate investing, but now it's through education. So that's how we got to where we are now and why I'm here with you.
So that's amazing. What's been the response to the book?
Well, I've won several awards. I've been #1 on Amazon in several categories. I have over 100 reviews and a 5-star rating. So the book's been really very well received, and people seem to really love it. The reviews are super positive.
So is there one story that you have heard that's like, that's why I wrote the book?
Well, all of the stories in the book are wonderful. The reason I started collecting the short stories was I saw something one time when I was reading that said the saddest story in Hollywood. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. It was the story of Sylvester Stallone, of how when he first started acting, he didn't get very many jobs. And when he did, he didn't do very well. And he was, well, he spent all of his money, moved to Hollywood, and he was broke. And he was sleeping in a bus station, kept his clothes in his car, bathed at the YMCA, didn't have enough money to feed his dog. He had to sell his dog so that his dog would have something to eat. Now that's
That's so sad.
pretty low. And so he was at a bar one time and he witnessed a boxing match between Muhammad Ali and the Bayonne Bruiser. Now, Bayonne Bruiser was just a local fighter. No one expected him to last around with Muhammad Ali, who was the greatest, world champ. But the Bruiser kept getting up. And at one point, he knocked Ali to the mat. So at the end of that, he stayed in there 15 rounds. And because Ali was the world champion, if he lasted 15 rounds, he won the match. But Sylvester Stallone was really impressed. So he went home, he got a pencil paper, and he started writing. He wrote for 3 days. He didn't sleep, he didn't eat. He wrote and wrote and wrote. It was a screenplay. So a few days later, he went to an audition, and the part wasn't for him, and he started to leave. And when he got to the door, he realized there's producers here. So he turned around and went to the producers and said, "Hey guys, I've written a screenplay." And to get rid of him, they said, "Well, just bring it by, we'll review it." So to their surprise, the next day, he showed up with his screenplay. They read it and they loved it. They said, "Oh, this is really great." They offered him $350,000 for the screenplay. Now he was broke, and now they're offering him $350,000. And he said, "Okay, I'll sell it to you, but if you make a movie, I have to be the star." And they said, "No, we don't want you. We want a big star. We want Ryan O'Neal or someone that's really big in the movies now." So he had a decision to make. Was he going to sell it to him for $350,000, or was he going to walk away and stay broke? He realized they make a movie out of this and I'm not in it, it's going to kill me. I'm used to living in the bus station. So he turned them down. They came back to him and they made an arrangement. They gave him $35,000 for the play, let him be the star, and promised him if the movie made anything, he would get a portion of the profits if there were any. They let him produce it. They gave him a budget, which was extremely low. He produced it himself. Because the budget was so low, he used handheld cameras. He used his friends and neighbors for actors there was only one other actor who was a retired old man who wasn't acting anymore that was in the movie. And so when the movie came out, they showed it in several theaters, and it got pretty good response. And for that reason, they gathered all the Hollywood producers and directors and had a screening. So he went to the screening, and there were over 100 people there. And he went in and sat down, and the movie started to play. On the funny parts, no one laughed. And on the parts where they should have gotten excited during the fight, no one moved. So when the movie was over, everyone got up and walked out. Now, he was upstairs on the screening room, and he was the last one seated. And his tears were running down his eyes because he realized it had failed. He turned down $300,000. So finally, after a few minutes, he got the strength to get to his feet, and he walked out the doors and started down the steps. Then he realized something was different. No one had left. Everyone was on the first floor. And when the first person saw him, he started clapping. And then as the other people saw him, they all started to clap. And the ovation was so loud, it rang off the walls. And he stood there stunned. He didn't know what to say. He later said, "I'll never have a feeling like that again." They loved the movie. And when it came out, it got, I think, 7 Oscar nominations. It won 3 or 4 Oscars. It was called Rocky, and he became a superstar, and he's still acting here many, many, many years later. I hear he's doing a new film right now. So that was very motivational and cathartic. And I thought, this kind of a story will motivate my students. So I started collecting stories like that. And I had about 100 of them when I started writing this book. The hardest part of writing the book, Real Impact Daily Inspiration, was eliminating the stories because they were all so good. But the ones I left in were extremely motivational and cathartic. In other words, they're going to make you cry. They have places in there that's just going to reach in and pluck your heartstrings. So I hope everybody will get one of these books. In fact, I would like to give everyone that's listening in a free ebook with no strings and no cost. If you'll just go to .com, scroll down to the bottom where it says podcast guest, click on that, put in your name and email, and you're instantly going to get the book. I mean, it's an instant download. In fact, if you go there right now, before this podcast is over, you can be following along with us on the book. It's really simple to get. And you won't be put on any email list. There is a link there that says, if you want to be notified when I write other books, you can click that and you'll be notified about any other book that I write. But this is not a way to build an email list. But what it is this. When you read this book, you're going to think of 3 or 4 people, someone that's graduating from high school or from college, someone that's having a struggle in their life, a grandparent. You're going to think, oh, they would love this book. It would really help them. And another thing, if you go to Amazon and read the reviews, you'll see what people think. I mean, there's people that just said, oh, this book came at the right time. I really needed, something to lift me out of the depression I was in. So it's a powerful book. I hope everybody will get one and love it. I hope you'll go to Amazon, leave a review. And if you need to contact me, there's a place at the top that says contact us. And I'm available for speaking and various podcasts and other things.
So what sets the book apart from other self-help books, and discuss the benefits of purchasing Real Impact?
Well, what sets it apart is it's not like any other motivation book. The other motivational books say do this and this and this, and change this and do this. But this book is not like that. This book is about reading a little bit and contemplating what you read. It's not the quantity of the reading, of the daily reading. It's the quality. And the book is really quality. If you just read one poem, you're going to be impressed, or one short story or one quote, you'll realize this is really a powerful book, because it's a 50-year collection. It wasn't done, I didn't go on AI and say, give me some poems and quotes. No, you can tell this is really something that is powerful. And what sets it apart is it wasn't written to be read, it was written to be used as a tool to help you form the habit of daily reading, reading something that's going to move you closer to your goal every day. And what that does is this, it reminds you every day of what your goal is. So if you don't have a goal, the book forces you. You can't form the habit unless you go ahead and set the goal. Do you want to become an attorney? Do you want to become a physician? Do you want to become an engineer? Do you want to go work at NASA? Do you want to own a business? Do you want to become wealthy? Whatever you want, you can have. But first you have to decide what you want, and then you have to start taking steps toward that every day. And this is a great first step.
So, do you have a favorite quote or anecdote in the book?
Well, I like what Zig Ziglar said. Zig Ziglar said, little things over time add up to become big things. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. If you just read 20 pages of a 200-page book every day, at the end of the year, you would have read 20 books. That's 19 more than the average person. That will set you apart. You know, I used to speak. I spoke throughout the United States and in other countries. And one of the things I would always ask is, how many people here know Zig Ziglar? And almost every hand would go up, no matter where I was, United States, Mexico, wherever I was. Everybody knew Zig Ziglar. Jim Rohn said, find out what successful people do and do that. So Zig Ziglar was successful, and he always said, I have a habit of reading 3 hours every day. Now, you don't have to read 3 hours every day to become successful, but it really would help. Look how successful Zig Ziglar was. And I'm sure that was one of the main reasons.
So, what's the significance of the lamp on the cover of the book?
I'm so glad you asked that. If you go to realimpact.com, the very first tab in the upper right-hand corner says the mystery of the lamp. If you want to know the mystery of the lamp, you've got to go to my website.
That is like the best website plug ever. What other resources are on your website?
Well, there's a place there to help the children. There's a tab that says help the children. It's a GoFundMe. This book is so powerful that I want to get it in the hands of a lot of young people that are in disadvantaged communities. So I started a program where you can donate $1 or $5 or $10, and every penny of that goes toward purchasing books to put in small libraries in disadvantaged communities and in schools that have low budgets in disadvantaged communities to get it out to the kids, because it's a life-changing book, and this will help with child literacy and continuing education. Just imagine if someone in the 7th or 8th grade forms the habit of reading something positive every day for the rest of their life, the change that will be in their life.
That's an amazing cause, and I hope our listeners go and support that. So, how is the book structured, and why is it structured that way?
On the testimonials, the other books I'd written were on real estate. I didn't have any testimonials about the book. So what I did was, the first part, I contacted my previous students and I said, would you be kind enough to write a testimonial about what you think about my training? And they did. And they're very powerful testimonials. So one day someone came in my office and they said, hey, Dennis, I read your book. And I said, oh, really? Which story did you like best? And they said, I like the story about the little girl from Brazil who couldn't speak English, that learned how to invest in real estate. And I laughed and I said, that's not a story in the book. That's one of the testimonials.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I called her and told her that she had the best story in my book. The book is structured, it has testimonials, it has long stories, short stories, poems, quotes, and then a list of powerful books. So that gives you the opportunity to read something regardless of your time slot. If you get home and you say, oh, I forgot to read today, but I'm exhausted, I got to go to bed, you can turn to the back of the book and read a quote. Some of the quotes are 5 words. So it doesn't take any time. I mean, you just read it and go to sleep thinking of something really positive. Or if between meetings, you want to read something, you got 5 minutes, you can read a poem. So the book is very user-friendly, and it's set up in such a way so you have no excuse. If you want to form that habit, this book will help you do it. And it's fun. I mean, read what the Amazon people say about it. It is a fun book to read. Some people say, I know I'm not supposed to read it all the way through, but I can't put it down. And I'm not bragging on how well I write. The stories were good before I put them in there. So, they were just great stories. I couldn't fail.
So what have you been doing since the book just what have you been doing since the book?
Well, I do promote the book. I'm working on marketing, but I'm writing a number of other books. I have 4 books on real estate that are coming out within the next month or so. Those are real estate books. But then books like this on motivation, I'm doing a book called The Laws of Nature. I'm doing another one called The 7 Secrets of Success, and another one called Burning Desire. It has flames on the front of it. And it talks about people who had goals that were impossible, but they had a burning desire to reach those goals. And they reached them in spite of all of the problems that were set before them. And pretty interesting.
So what's your favorite piece of feedback that you've gotten about the book?
When people say, Dennis, you've changed my life, and I've heard that quite often, but it always just touches me. When someone says, oh, you changed my life, a lot of my students have told me that, but during some of these interviews, people asked me questions, and I gave them a quote or an answer, and they thought about it and said, oh, that's life-changing. Well, that's what I want to do. I'm 77. I won't be here for 30 more years. This book is going to be here for a long time, and it's going to change a lot of people's lives. But the only way that's going to happen is if you take it and let it change yours. And if you can't do that, do this. Get it and think of 3 people that it will change and get the book to them. If you can just get the word out, just let them know, hey, there's this new book. And if you'll get it, I think it'll help you. Because it's like this. You can't drive your car forward and backward at the same time. You can't be happy and sad at the same time. You can't be down and grateful at the same time. So what the book teaches you to do is to be grateful, to take the G vitamin, to live your life without the ants, any negative thought sequence. You do away with the ants. Every time you think of something negative, you say, no, I'm going to kill that ant. I'm not going to think of that. You're going to think of something positive, about the things you appreciate, the people that love you, the people you love, your dog, your home, you're warm, you got a free country. I mean, there's so much to be thankful for and grateful for. You're alive, you can breathe. That's the kind of thing that I'm striving for, that I appreciate hearing.
So what's your advice to somebody watching or listening to this that's facing a difficulty in their life? What's your inspiration?
Either take the free ebook. It would be better if you had the soft cover. If you have the book in your hand, it's better. And in the front of the book, it says how to use this book. And then it says the magic formula. So go to realimpactbook.com, click on the Aladdin or the lamp, the secret of the lamp, and it has a recording there. So you click on the secret of the lamp, play the recording, and it's going to impress you. And then use that magic formula. I promise you, it will make a difference. Some of the people that have written reviews have said, this book came at exactly the time I needed it. So it's having an impression on some people, and it will on you if you use it as it's intended.
So was there something in your childhood or something that caused you to become this motivated? Because you are very motivated.
When I was in high school, I hated school, and I was dyslexic, which made it really hard. And I was bored. I was, hyperactive. I couldn't stand going to class. I didn't like the teachers. I didn't like going to school. The only thing I cared about was football. And I was also in the band. I played the drums. So between the two things, that's all I thought about, band and football. Well, when it came time to play football, my father came to school and he took my helmet and gave it to the coach. And he said, my son's not playing football. And that was the end of my football career. But I was still a fan. So one day a college band came and played a concert. And I thought, this is great. I don't have to go to class. At the end of the concert, the band director turned around and said, I brought a treat for you. I brought our marching drum section, and they're going to put on a little show. We were in the auditorium. They went out in the middle of the basketball floor, and the first thing they did was put on a pair of, they all put on sunglasses. They strapped on their drums, and they put on a show that blew my mind. I'd never seen anything. I didn't even know drummers could do that. So I went to my band director and I said, I want to be in that drum section. How do I do that? He said, well, you got to go to college. And I said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, it means you're going to have to start making good grades. You're making D's and F's. They're never going to let you in college. So from that point till the end of high school, I brought my D's and F's up to A's and B's. I was motivated. I had a burning desire. And I went to Jacksonville State. And I got there late, sprained my ankle, and didn't make the drum section the first year. But I still stayed in. I learned all the drum parts. I met all the drummers. The second year, I was in the section. The third year, I was assistant section leader. And then the next year, I was a section leader. The following year, I was the drum major of the band. So if you find something that motivates you, you should look for it and just go after it. Well, that's just the first story. I mean, years later, I wanted to become a college band director. I was offered a college band directing job. A large company hired me away from them, paid me 20 times what the college was going to pay me. And they gave me 3 books, Think and Grow Rich, Success the Glenn Bland Method, and The Greatest Salesman in the World. When I read those books, my life was changed. I was so motivated. I mean, I went out and I made so much money. I bought a house, I got married, I bought a Mercedes Benz, I had every toy that any person that age would want, but I wanted more books. We didn't have the internet, we didn't have, Google or YouTube. It was the 70s. So I had to ask other successful people, what books are you reading? So over the years, I kept reading books more and more and more. And when I found one that really motivated me, I put it on my list. I kept a list. And that list is in the back of this book. And if you want some powerful books, one of the guys on Amazon said, I gave you 5 stars because of the list of books in the back. It's that good. And it is. If you don't do anything else but just download the free book, go to the back and start reading those books, they will change your life.
That's so do you have like a person that you look up to?
Oh, sure. One of the people that changed my life, his name's Tom Hendricks. He's a businessman in Tennessee. And one of the colleges there at the University of Tennessee at Martin, they're naming a building after him. That's what a successful businessman and how respected he is in Tennessee. So he was my first mentor, he and Jack McConaughey. So when I finished this book, I dedicated it to him and sent it to him. And he hadn't heard from me in years and years and years. He wrote me a 4-page letter back saying, Dennis, this is a powerful book. You have a winner here. I'm giving a copy of this to my 4 grandchildren. So
that's sweet.
Really got me motivated. And another person that's highlighted in the book, Lou Holtz. So I sent him a book since he's highlighted in the book. I sent him a book and he sent me telling me, thank you so much for including him in my book. And he was humbled. He's such a quality person. Lou Holtz is just a wonderful person. And his story in the book is just powerful. He wanted to become the coach at Notre Dame. That was his burning desire. But his first coaching position, he got fired. And his boss said, you don't have what it takes. That's the name of the story. He said, you don't have what it takes to be a coach. You need to find something else. He wanted to be the coach at Notre Dame so bad that he dedicated his entire life to it. But the chances were so low. Notre Dame they're playing for the national championship Monday. I mean, they're really a quality team. And to get to be the coach, it's like becoming the Pope. If he'd have thought, well, I want to be the Pope, his chances would have been about the same. But he did it. And how he did it is outlined in that story. And it is absolutely amazing. It would just, well, it'll motivate anybody. I mean, you just have to read it to see how powerful it is.
Anything else you'd like to add before we get off here?
Well, I hope everybody that hears this will take the opportunity to at least review the book. That's why I made it for free. And if you don't get it for yourself, I hope you'll recommend it to some other people that it could help. And I hope you'll keep it in mind as a gift for high school or college graduates. If you're a grandparent, for a legacy gift to your grandchildren. If you're a grandchild, give it to your grandparents. They'll know the people in the stories, and they'll really love it. And if you would leave an Amazon rating, I'd appreciate that so much. And if you don't read my book, but you just read someone else's book and you thought, oh, this was such a great book. If you're thinking of that right now, go to Amazon, find that book, and give that author a good rating. You'll make their day. So help somebody be happy today.
So, speaking of ratings, this seems like a great time to tell our audience that you can rate and review us. You can go to Apple, Spotify, or go to realwithit.com/reviews. And please subscribe to us. And if you're on YouTube and Spotify, hit the bell. Where can people follow you on social media, Dennis?
They can find me if they go to Amazon and type in Dennis Henson or Dennis J. Henson or Real Impact Daily Inspiration or realimpactbook.com. If you go to realimpactbook.com, right at the top, it says contact me. You click on that, it's got my phone number, my email address. You can call me. I'll be happy to talk with you. You can even go to Google and type in Dennis J. Henson phone number and it'll pop up. So I'm the easiest person to find probably in the world.
That is amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This has been one of my favorites. You've been amazing, Dennis. And we will talk to you guys next episode. Bye. I thought that was a really fascinating conversation. He was so inspiring to talk to. Don't forget to go to realimpactbook.com. And if you want to subscribe to this podcast, you can go to .com/subscribe, realwithit.com/subscribe. And if you're on YouTube or Spotify, be sure to hit the bell so you get notified about new episodes. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. Remember to follow the show and our guests on social media and subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell so you'll get notified when we upload new episodes. See you next time.